Shalom. Here we are, Parashat Yitro, and let's share some Divrei Torah. We have an interesting concept over here, and that is Vayishma Yisro Koyin Midyan Kasha Asel Kim Moshe Yisra Amalek Yotzi Hashem Yisra Mitzrayim. And it says that afterwards it comes and says that he met Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu tells him all the great things that happened to him. Vayomer Yisro Baruch Hashem asher yitzil etchem miyad Mitzrayim miyad Pharaoh asher yitzil et ha'am mitachat yad Mitzrayim. Atah Yadati ki gadol Hashem mikol Elokim. Now I know God is greater than all other lords. Ki b'davar shezadu aleihem, for it was in that which they had planned to do, but we call midah keneged midah, quid pro quo. God acts in such a fashion of quid pro quo, literally reflecting what we do. And this was very unique for him to hear and understand. I would like to understand what that means and what's important. There's a very famous Midrash, which on the pasuk of Atah Yadati. So the pasuk says, Atah Yadati makirei ha'isi l'sha'avar va'achshav v'yosar. I knew of him before. I knew him. I knew Yud Kei Vav Kei, but now I know him much more. What is the much more of knowledge of God in this midah of midah keneged midah, which seems to be expressed here in this pasuk? You know, there's a Hasidic sefer called the Atah Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua of Jikov, great grandson of Toli of Rupshitz. And he said, writes over there as a comment, I knew you can't transgress his will, lavor, avera. Now I realize that we have to do more with that. We have to do we have to do more than that. Things which are mutter, we should also refrain from. We should be mahader. We should look for ways of self-expression in mitzvahs. It sounds like a Chassidish vertel, but I actually think it carries a very, very profound idea, which reflects that which is found in the Midrash. And here's what I'd like to teach today. You know, what did he hear? Pasuk says, Mashmu Shamo Ba, Keriat Yam Suf and Amalek. It seems to be saying that Keriat Yam Suf, as the pasuk itself is the key of davar shezadu aleihem, and this is what it means, Keriat Yam Suf and Amalek. You know, people are not aware that at the Keriat Yam Suf, a halacha was born. And the pasuk zeh Keli v'anveyu Parashat b'shalach elokei avir emenu. This is my God, and I will glorify him. God of my father, and I will elevate him. What does it mean? I will glorify him. So the Chazal say, "Hisnaya lefonav b'mitzvahs." Beautify yourself with his mitzvahs. What are we supposed to do? Make sure you have a talit na'eh, tzitzit na'eh, even kulmus na'eh, and a sefer Torah and tefillin, and so on and so forth. What we call the mitzvah of hider mitzvah. Running after mitzvahs, showing self-expressions in mitzvahs. Now, this is not just a beautiful idea. It has major enough kamina la'alacha. For example, a Milah, circumcision on Shabbos, normally you can't cut human tissue on Shabbos. That's an issur d'oraisa. But Milah is a special pasuk which is doiches Shabbos. You know, there are tzitzin, there are pieces there which are not ma'akev as a Milah. You don't have to cut them nicely and beautifully. You can make it ragged, and it'll also be kosher. Yet what the din is, as long as we are doing the act of Milah, when we cut evenly and nicely, even those pieces which don't have to be cut, we can do that on Shabbos. In other words, what I'm saying here, that self-expression of the man in God's mitzvahs becomes part and parcel of the mitzvah. We become one with God, his Torah, our understanding and our expression of that also become one. What's the source of all that? What's the source of all that? This is the unique part of Keriat Yam Suf. Moore says that we say in the great Hoidu Agadol, we say 26 times Ki lo ilam chashtoi. The oilam was nizayin, basically, for so many generations, pure chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God had not yet given us the tools of action until Matan Torah. In Matan Torah, literally upon the goal of the Exodus, when we were going to leave Egypt and finally go to Matan Torah, there all of a sudden God said, okay, from now on, I've given you an education, now get to work. You got your diploma, you graduated, now I've given you the tools of self-sufficiency. You guys have to be involved in this. And then it's no more just pure chesed, it's actually the greatest chesed possible. He taught us how to be self-sufficient. Ki la'olam chastoi, the olam was nizen with pure chesed until Matan Torah. But we would call that, chesed of vitur. He's willing to do it for free. Ultimately, after is the greatest chesed, the chesed of Mishpat, and now it's up to us, and now we are dealt with according to what we can do. Mida keneged mida. And the pasuk Zeh Keli va'anveyu, Rashi brings down the role the Jews saw, Rasa Shifcha Layam, Mashelo Ra'u Anvi'im. Another language there, Mashelo Ra'a Yecheskel ben Buzi. So they saw more than what Yecheskel saw. Now, when they talk about Yecheskel, we're obviously talking about the Merkavah, which is elaborated in Yecheskel. And it says, we, Shifcha Layam, then perceived more the dynamics of God and man, God and creation, more than Yecheskel understood. And the old question is, there are two Merkavot. There's one of Yeshayahu and one of Yecheskel. Chazal perceived that Yeshayahu is actually more prominent. He speaks, sparingly. And, and you have to understand what he's saying. The Gemara says he's talking like a Ben Ir Shirayas HaMelech versus Yecheskel, which is the Ben Kfar Shirayas HaMelech. So why do we say Yecheskel? Why not say Mashir Yeshayahu? Answer lies, there's one unique difference between the Merkavah of Yecheskel and the Merkavah of Yeshayahu. That is, in Yecheskel, there's a description of Mal Admut HaYoshev Al HaKisei. Who stands? What does God look like sitting on his throne? Yeshayahu does not describe it, just says Ke'ein Dmut. Yecheskel says Dmut Adam HaYoshev Al HaKisei. The Anag of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that God reflects man. For man now has the tools of making and breaking this great world, and now God reflects you. What they saw is Ras Shifcha Yam Ashelo Yecheskel. They understood in depth that God now reflects man. Therefore, man is invited to be part and parcel of whatever this great purpose is going to be. That idea of God reflecting man is that which introduced into our halacha of Zeh Keli, Zeh Keli va'anveyu, well, since he reflects me, I now have rishus, be part and parcel, and to create this Torah in a way of adding, in a way, self-expression within the halacha. That's Zeh Keli va'anveyu, that's the halacha. Unique differences, therefore, for that point of time when God reflects man, because man is now going to Sinai, there's no more freeloading. We now have to earn our keep. So you see, this is what Yisro saw. Yisro saw that this is a God which is not remote from man. It is not a God which creates and judges alone, but it's a God that has invited man to be a shutuf l'maisa bereshis. He's enabled us, he's ennobled us, as one would say, to become partners in making and breaking of our history of creation of all that's there. That's the din of Hider Mitzvah, and that's Makira, Yisi L'Shavar. I knew I couldn't transgress his will, powerful God. But now I actually know that Kaddish Atzmacha v'mutzah lecha. I have to be a godly person myself. And Ve'anveyu, Chazal also say ve'edaimah, you should mimic him. You should be like him. We should somehow be godly. Mahu rachum of atati rachum, mahu nikra chanun of atati chanun, etc. It's also part of Anveyu. It's all part of man, God giving man the capabilities to become godly people, very moral people, very special people. Sorry to say that somehow religion has morphed into something which is less Daimela Kadosh Baruch Hu and more just looking at laws and rules. One wonders what happens to the great V'daimele, the great Adam Yoshev Alakise, the great being godly. One has to learn to be godly. One has to act in a very special moral way, ethical way. One has to look at what religion teaches him as a person and not just do mitzvos. Yeah, mitzvahs are very important, but anybody learning Moreh Nevuchim would know the mitzvahs have a purpose to make us better people. I want to wish us all, we should all be able to justify the koiches that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us to be daimelai. We should from the Ma'aseh Bereishis. With that, we will bring a Geula and Yeshua to Klal Yisrael. Kol Tuv. Have a great day.